Hi. It's a long time because I have here to pinpoint and NAVER from like 5 or 6 years ago, because it's a long time and this project was created. And at the beginning, at this event, I just want to give a very short and easy introduction about Apache SkyWalking, because it's a very, very young project. Even it's already an Apache Top Level Project, but still, it's very young. Okay, I'm Wu Sheng. I came from China, and I work for a US company named Tetrate. We are delivering the enterprise level service mesh. We are combined by the people from the Envoy, Istio, and the SkyWalking team. So most likely my day job is service mesh observability. But still, because 3 or 4 years ago, I created the SkyWalking project from day one. So I still maintain the project. I still the Apache project VP for Apache SkyWalking. And most likely, I'm half day of day job for the open source community, and half my time works on the enterprise delivery. And the other thing is about I work for the Apache ShardingSphere. It's another Apache project for if you want to save a lot of data in different MySQL instances, then you need a sharding proxy or sharding library to save the different data to the different MySQL instance. And that's this project for. And I also work for the Apache Incubator. If anyone or any project want to join the Apache Incubator, I'm welcome, and you're welcome to join, and I'm glad to help. So that's the basic. And back to like 4 years ago, I created a project, but not to compete to anyone and don't want to do anything to the open source. I just create a project for training. Because back to there, I have a very bad experience to work with 8 vendors to deliver one project for very big company in China. You can see we have 18 from 8 company, and they deliver one module from their side, and we need to assembling them together and show the user it's working. Most likely, it's not. So we are trying to find out whose fault it is. Then we create this project for training our coders, our developers, to know how to allocate, how to address the issue. That's basically why we create SkyWalking. And back then, the next year, we create the Java agent because our developer didn't want to use any library dependency. They want to code injection. They want to runtime code manipulation. So we do that. And the second year, I created this project. I joined APM vendors. And this project totally became off-day hobbies, just for fun. But still, people keep coming, keep asking questions and how to join the community, how to contribute to the codes. And since then, you will see from the history of the GitHub, the 2 years, the whole project is all in Chinese. And there was very less documents because at first we didn't want to do any open source things. We just have fun. And with more and more people join, and I left the APM vendor and joined Huawei Cloud. So they have a requirement to host SkyWalking at Huawei Cloud. Then we pick up the community, and we decided to make sure the community grows up in a very good, robust, and fast. So we choose to join the Apache Incubator because we want the community. Because back there, we have just 7 contributors from their free time to just contribute codes from time to time. And now we will show you we have a very big group of contributors. We have over 130 contributors, and we have 20 active contributors in every months. So after joining the incubator, and we released the 5GA version. At that moment, it's nearly just 2 years ago, we have the first version could be used in production. Or before that, that's for fun. And from 5.0 is the real version. We are trying to make that is usable in the production. Then I joined Tetrate. And the people asking in enterprise level service mesh observability. So you will see we are just use the Java agent, like the pinpoint. We are do traditional APM things, inject codes, do tracing, analyze, get visualization. And then we have to redesign all of the things to make sure the whole core, the whole project worked perfectly, both in service mesh and the traditional Java agent or any other language agent scenarios. And at the 2 months ago, and we graduate the Apache Top Level Project. And the SkyWalking 6 version is first released and keep in long time supports. And we will try to make that as a very widely used version. So what is SkyWalking 6? Basically, in January and at the beginning, it's still the tracing system. It doesn't change any day. So today, we just rename it as Observability Analyze Platform. Basically, because we are not just design and accept data from tracing agent. We accept data from various sources. And today we have, before we go into what source we are going to receive, we have the basic rules about how we design the SkyWalking 6, including the visualization. It's a very basic core and a very basic concept graph I'm going to introduce. Because if you are familiar with observability, you will receive the graph of logging, tracing, and the metrics. And from here, we have organized the graph in different way. And we want to show our user, anyone who want to observe the distributed system, they want to show the topology map as the highest priority. Because first of all, you need to understand what is the distributed system. In the real world, no matter ops team, dev team, or architecture platform team, no one really understands and no one really knows what is the distributed system looks like. They have some images in their mind, but actually they don't know. So the first thing from the open source community and commercial product customer, they always want topology. So that's why my current employee asked me to do in service mesh, we need topology. Then with topology, just nodes and edge. And then we need to show the metrics for nodes, and we want to show the metrics for every edge in the graph. Then maybe at some point, metrics triggers alarm, because maybe some threshold you set, maybe you some baseline calculated from history data, because like Jingdong.com, they want to contribute a baseline calculate mechanism to help the system to build a very intelligent baseline. And when you have that, when you have an alarm, you know which part or which core of the system, of the distributed system goes wrong. Then you want to dig more. You want to know what happens exactly and what's the problem, what's the exception. It's based on the network, it's based on the framework or arguments or data, anything. Then you need maybe tracing, maybe logging. Because like we always talked about on Twitter or many workshops, tracing and logging is very complex for people to separate them together. But from my mind, tracing is something have more payload to the system, but you have the context. You know what is things going on across different nodes and get a consistent view from the trace view. But the log have more information. You can dig in because log is the things developer is familiar with, especially when you do the language agent or mesh. Because both that solution, you are preferring the user don't manipulate or change codes to adapt tracing anymore. You try to hide that. In the agent logical or in mesh logical, you try to hide that. You don't want the user to know. So tracing will show you basically when it goes wrong, but maybe just an exception. No parameter, basically. And the logging, maybe they have more information. So you can link tracing, logging, and metric at that point only. So you can get whole picture of your system. So based on that, we have a very basic overview of the whole SkyWalking system. We have a receiver from different source. Then we can receive trace from different tracing system or different SkyWalking agents. Or we can receive data from Service Mesh or other platform or other middleware. Then we have tracing analyze and metric analyze. Tracing analyze is about you need to analyze the metrics from the trace format. So you didn't need the client side to report metrics directly. You can analyze all of things based on tracing. And that is also why SkyWalking also be required and recommend user to use 100% sampling if you want to do the analyze from the tracing. Actually, this is most likely our users most wanted, 100% tracing. So, and the metrics is totally easy things, the nodes, the edge, something like that. And we have the analyze call to analyze all of the data and save to different database or different middleware. Because at least in 2 years ago, SkyWalking is based on HBase like Pinpoint. Just for fun, but still it's based on HBase. But people start to asking why an APM system is much, much more complex than the original observed system. I have a distributed system and based on Spring Cloud technology or any RPC technology. And that's a very lightweight system. I can use a shell command to start the system. Then I want to monitor them. And you give me a big data platform. It's very hard to learn. It's very hard to maintain. It's very hard to extend. For the big data professional team, it's not hard, I know. But for most ops team, you can imagine how they could deal with that. And you are only the observability system. And you should be the second class or even the third class of the system. So you should be the easiest part, not the hardest part, because you are not supporting any business logical. You are just ops support system. So that's why from the beginning, we are trying to include any popular storage in SkyWalking storage implementation. Okay, then we create UI. UI actually is a very tricky part. All end user loves UI. If you have a fancy UI, you can easily attract the users. But actually for our open source project, it's not so important. But still, we attract a very, I will show you our UI. That's based on our contributor totally. And we change UI twice from beginning, totally change. And that's based on the community decision only. Okay, then for the receiver, I say today we have receiver for SkyWalking native tracing and metric format, for eSteel, for Envoy, and experimental API support for Zipkin and Jaeger. For Zipkin and Jaeger, most people asking about could they analyze the Zipkin and Jaeger spans and transform them to the SkyWalking storage and use SkyWalking's visualization. But sadly today we cannot guarantee that. It's just experimental. Because today we don't have user to really highly deeply use Zipkin or Jaeger and want to build APM system rather than original tracing system of these two libraries. So sadly we can't. But logically and in theory we can do that, but just no contributors shows up. And these patterns follows Apache community patterns. We just deliver fusions. We deliver our function based on our community. If they say they need someone, if someone shows up, say, I want to lead this part works, then we deliver these fusions. Otherwise, maybe like the Zipkin experimental API analyze module, I provide the prototype and I left document there. And if no one shows up, it's just stop there. Okay? And analyze, I say I want to the very lightweight thing. So we didn't want to Spark, we didn't want to the Storm. So we built a very lightweight streaming distributing computing engine inside SkyWalking's backends. It's very easy because for the observability part, you don't need any transaction in analyze. You just want to make sure the system works in distributed environments. Okay, so it's very lightweight. You didn't need any dependency. You just need to start up a shell and the JVM works. And for the cluster mode, you could choose. If you run in Kubernetes, you can use API server to coordinate the cluster, or Zookeeper, or anything you could imagine for do these kind of things. And for all of the analyze, we have some concepts you need to understand first. Then service instance, and endpoints. Service is something like the application or anything logically you want to show in topology. That's service. Service instance is if you are using the Java agent, is an OS process. If you want to use the service mesh, it's just a pod in Kubernetes. That's all. So instance is the one union, the minimum union you want to show up the metrics. And for the endpoint, it's most likely the URL or URI for the system. And you want to analyze and get a metric for that. For RPC framework like gRPC, you may be the class and the meta signature, just to show a unique string for whatever you call that. Because even no matter in English, Chinese, or any language, I think the service is a very complex concept. You can call anything as a service. You can call a method as a service. You can call a URL as a service. You can call a group of things as a service. So at here, we have a very clear definition. Maybe not fit other system, but that is just for our user to understand what we are trying to do. So we analyze. So all of the analyze based on script, not based on any hard code. So we built a very lightweight compile engine. They can compile this script to Java source code. And when you package all of the SkyWalking script will be transformed to the Java codes. Then they will adapt the framework we built and analyze the metrics. So you can see from here, you can easily get the service latency from the 99% of the latency. You can show that metrics. And that name you can use for alarm, for date forward to another third-party system, or query, anything you want to access from outside of the system. You just could use any variables, you name it. And for the query, we have very different sets of the UI. Because at the beginning, we have the UI based on very basic HTML and JS, and we have UI based on the React, we have the UI based on the Vue. Now we have different UI from cloud vendors, from my own company, and other many companies, they built the system, but with different UI, different visualization. So at the beginning, we know this will going to happen. So we are not restrict or ask user, this is our UI, please understand that. We don't want to do that. We provide GraphQL API. And you can see from there, you can have different ways to query the system. Metadata to have how many service instances you have, and the metrics to get the layer of any metrics, layer graph of any metrics, aggregation to get the top end to most slowest, most fast, most high payload system you want, and topology, tracing, alarm, and maybe logging in the future. So you can compile, you can do any UI you want. That's why SkyWalking change UI, but don't change this API very high frequency. So you can do this. Because of the GraphQL, you can compile different query in one HTTP request. Such as you want to query 3 service or 5 instance, and topology at one HTTP request from UI side, GraphQL is easy to do. So you can take advantage of that, then you can have the UI you want. We have a very different UI from I know. I can't post there because they are from commercial product, but I can guarantee they are very different. Okay. And based on these 2 years, I saw this project is officially running 2 years. And how powerful it is. We have 130 code contributors from nearly all kinds of companies in China, and several in US, India, and Spanish. It's young, but still we are trying to make the project at global. And there are 18 more companies open their use information or use case in public and allowed us to share. And several of them have employees to contribute for Fusion to the SkyWalking in their daytime. That's why SkyWalking can have developed this so quickly. Because today we have 20 people work from 15 companies. They can work daytime. Maybe not every day, but still they work from daytime. The company are aware and support their contribution. Now we have 20 and 30 contributors every month, and 5,000 lines added or changed in the project. This from the last 6 months. And we have public speech and blog, sometimes in Chinese, sometimes in English. I post every month. So this makes the project grow very quickly because we have a very active community. Most contributors from China, but still have several ones from the US, including my own company and other startup company in the US. Because if you know the Western APM market, you will know a lot of big companies, they will buy commercial APM rather than use the OSS system. But still, for a startup company, the APM system is too expensive. So they will choose the open source ones. And they will build the system based on our core. Yeah, I just want to show the system for a while. And you will see this is a very commercial level system, because actually this is contribute from a real commercial product. This is from the official donation way from one China company, a private cloud company. They provide a product based on the SkyWalking core and have a visualization and to sell. And 3 months ago, they decided to donate the whole UI to the community and give all of the users free to use this system. So you will see this is very commercial ones, and all of the things fits Apache license requirements. They are friendly, you are open to use, you are open to change, you are open to say, this is yours, it's okay. So this is the thing. People shows up and say, we want to do that, and we want to accept that. If the PMC team says yes, then we accept it. And we trust the user will maintain the system. Because even they didn't maintain, we can go back to the original UI and continue the things works. So this is the customer version of the UI. You can change the UI based on your habits or anything you like. So this is the topology. And their team is trying to make these things much cooler, and you will show all of the metrics from the topology to the nodes, to instance, to endpoints. They want to dig in. But still, they're on the way. But you can see, even today, you can see the metrics of the topology from there. So, and this is a very traditional tracing ones, right? This is a very easy tracing. And because of Elasticsearch and 100% sampling, you can search any trace at any moment if you like. Okay. Also, there is an alarm. This is another layout of tracing because people want to show the relationship of the tree. Okay. So let's finish this. Okay. Then I will give some conclusion of the current state of the SkyWalking. So we are very concentrated and very focused on the consistent. We are 100% make sure the backends and the visualization works in language agent and service mesh. That is our core because we are believing agent is for the traditional system, and the mesh is the people you want to, if you want to go into the cloud native and you want to embrace the service mesh ecosystem, finally you will need that kind of APM system. And SkyWalking will leverage that, and you can still use the same APM system, even if you switch the stack. And for the language, we have a community contribute different language. For the core team, we just maintain the Java version. But from the community, they have .NET, PHP, Node.js, and Go. And the most popular one, I think, is the .NET, because we have 3 Microsoft MVP to support that system. So they have time to make sure that things is fit for the .NET ecosystem very well. And the high performance is based on what we think we are do 100% sampling. So this is our user always asked, so we have to be done. So you need to do 5,000 QPS in 500 users, and you need every span in every process, in every request, and you can only support actual 10% CPU maximum. So this is the test report. You can find a lot of reports our user did. Basically, in a real project environment, 1% to 3% most likely happens. But still, we do a very strict, very stress way to do that, so we can have 10% CPU usage. Because this is what is happening. Because back to 3 years ago, I worked for APM vendor, and their system needed to support 10,000 RPM, and you only have 5% actual CPU to use. Because this kind of system is the only thing you have. If you use more than that, the whole system crashes. So you need to think any way to use any data structure you need, any experimental you need, to make sure your agent could cost as less as possible. For the backends, it's still the tracing scenario. We need to support several terabytes trace per day. And if you run into half a month, there were hundreds of terabytes trace. And this all is based on 100% sampling, and 15 nodes of backends, 20 nodes of Elasticsearch. That's all you need to support this 100% sampling in real production. And for the backend, if you run in service mesh scenario, because in service mesh, you didn't need tracing. You have Envoy, you have Istio Mixer. If you know service mesh, you will know there's a lot of complaint about Mixer. So today for SkyWalking, we are working with the Istio community, and we are working with the Envoy community. You can get observability from service mesh without Mixer, but from the Envoy directly. So this is just the data from the Envoy. You can have 275,000 TPS for just 3 node backends. Then you can have all of the metrics. There's no tracing there, because for service mesh observability, the first priority is topology and then metrics. If you want to go back to the tracing, they're back to the language agent. So that things doesn't change. Okay, thank you. This is the basic introduction. Thank you.